All right, so our third topic here, topic C, asymptotes. We're going to start out with vertical asymptotes, vertical lines. Okay, vertical lines that correspond to the zeros, okay, of the denominator of a rational function. You can see that I exchange. When you get to an asymptote in your calculator, okay, you'll find that you'll get this error message. Okay, for these x values in your table view of your calculator. Now, I've given us a nice little function that we can consider as we talk about asymptotes. And when I refer back to this description, it says that my asymptotes are going to correspond to the zeros of my rational function. Okay? I know you've heard this before, but you may need to just be refreshed a little bit on what a zero is in a function. Okay, but the zeros of the denominator is meaning we're going to find what values of x make our denominator 0. Because as you recall, I'm sure, we cannot have 0 in the denominator. Okay, that gives us an undefined result. So to find these zeros, we're going to take our function, the denominator of our function. Okay, we're going to kind of pull it off to the side. Okay, and then we're going to set that function equal to 0, because that's going to tell us what values of x give us that 0 result when we set it equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic. Okay, so hopefully you remember that to solve this we would need to factor this trinomial into two binomials, and this factors 2x minus 6 and x plus 1. We take these binomials and we set them individually equal to 0 and then solve them. So in my first equation here, x is equal to positive 6, and in my second, x is equal to negative 1. I know that I'm going to have a vertical asymptote at around negative 1, so that's somewhere in here. So I'm just going to draw a dotted line, and then also I'm going to go to about positive 6. I'm going to draw a dotted line here. That kind of gives me an idea of where those asymptotes are. Okay, and then I may graph this function and just kind of sketch it from what my calculator gives me. It's going to look a little bit like that. Okay, and then right in between these two asymptotes, my function is going to have some activity, just like that. Okay. So an asymptote, remember, is a line that a function will get increasingly close to but never actually touch. Okay? Because if it touched that value, then we would have that denominator of 0, which we cannot have. And the last part of this look a little bit like that. Okay. So interesting looking function there, but there's a graph showing our vertical asymptotes. Okay, and I just put a note in here for you not all rational functions will have a vertical asymptote. Okay? Sometimes you'll get a rational function whose denominator you cannot factor. Okay? So in that case, there's not a vertical asymptote. Now let's talk a little bit about horizontal asymptotes.